In October of 1997, Age of Empires was released by Ensemble Studios. They were also known for Age of Mythology and Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, with their last title being Halo Wars in 2009 before they were dissolved by Microsoft. In 1999, however, Age of Empires 2 was released. This was later followed by Age of Empires 3, but Age of Empires 2 is special. It received a HD remake in 2013, followed by its first expansion pack, The Forgotten. A second expansion pack was released in 2015 called The African Kingdoms, adding new civilizations, campaigns, units, a new game mode, and some balance and gameplay adjustments. I didn't even know that there were expansion packs out for this game until I found out in December of 2016 that another expansion pack, Rise of the Rajas, was released. Beyond the new civilizations and units, they even updated the AI. I remember playing Age of Empires 2 as a teenager. I always enjoyed the quick gameplay and the amount of units that one could use to take over other civilizations. And while I'm not a history buff and can't vouch for how accurate the historical stories are in the game, I have to say if learning history was more real-time strategy and interactive, I would have been a lot more excited for history in school. The game loads up to the same old screen, nothing entirely spectacular. It's standard for a real-time strategy type game, multiplayer, single-player, campaigns. In the game, you start out in the Dark Age, generally, and advance through the different ages, Feudal Age, Castle Age, and Imperial Age. As you advance, new units, structures, and technologies are unlocked. You build villagers to gather resources, build buildings to build units, and build units to protect everything that you're doing. There are a variety of different campaigns that follow historical scenarios, such as Genghis Khan's invasion of Eurasia. In these campaigns, you have a certain set of objectives you must meet in order to complete the scenario. I have to admit that I hadn't touched this game for at least a decade, so when I saw Rise of Rajas was released, I knew that I wanted to reinstall and check it out. It's on Steam for a cool $20, though it goes on sale often enough, so it's cheap enough to pick up. The game itself looks fantastic with the updated visuals, though the graphics weren't heavily changed. It seems like it has more texture updates and some minor unit changes. Honestly, I don't think much needed to be done since the isometric view holds up pretty well. The speed and flow of the game still feels fairly natural, where things don't take overly long to research or build. I'm not sure how much of the AI they changed, but your opponents do try and win during the campaign mode. They're pretty passive in single player mode though. However, I did find myself running into some freezing occasionally, where the game would lock up momentarily. This seemed to happen mostly in battle. This seems strange to me, since I can handle games that are much more graphically heavy without any other issues. I didn't look much into it, since it maybe happened once or twice in a 2-hour span, and it didn't hold up the game for very long. It's just an issue that you might run into. Additionally, the pathing issues that existed in the original game still seem to exist. Some units will often get stuck while trying to figure out how to cross rivers or try and get around water. Additionally, units get stuck on each other, so you have to be careful when trying to move larger units around smaller units. I have no idea about the music of this game. The sound is largely drowned out by the sounds of units fighting and dying, and there's not much variation to the sounds either, so you get tired of hearing the same fighting sounds and dying sounds. The voices for each of the civilizations has always been one of my favorite things about Age of Empires. The units speak in the language in which they're from. Women sound different from men, and the newest expansion's intro and outro are voiced over as well.
We managed to crush the unlawful rebellion of that treacherous usurper, and during the great festivities that followed, I've been promoted to a higher position.
The only sound I've never been truly certain about has been the sounds that the horses make, but I guess I'm not around horses very often. At the end of the day, the last issue I have with the game is that it hasn't moved on with its user interface. It feels old and dated. Campaigns don't end themselves, you have to end them. Pressing escape as default for opening a menu doesn't. I found that the arrow keys were default for moving the map around, which just feels weird with the WASD keys being standard now. All in all though, I would highly suggest Age of Empires 2. It's still one of my favorite real-time strategy games. The stories, the overall flow of the game, and the graphics still look really nice. And if you're looking for a game with interesting historical stories that's not too bogged down and isn't super graphically intense, you should check out Age of Empires 2.
Kondo. Kondo. Kondo.